Hey friends, Rick from BCW here with the FAB Breakdown. And in this mini-series of episodes that I'm putting together, we're going to be covering 4 Blitz decks in preparation for Skirmish Season number 4, starting on March 26th. Now, right now, we're coming out of the ProQuest season. In fact, at the time of recording this first deck tech for Blitz, we have 1 weekend left of the ProQuest season, which is class constructed. But Everfest has launched since the last time that we've really focused on Blitz, and there are a lot of new cards and a lot of new top tier decks. So in this short series, I'm going to be covering a Benji OTK, we're going to be covering a Kasai Sellsword, we're going to be covering a Kano list because he was S tier. Is he still S tier? We're going to try and answer that question. And finally, I've got my special brew, a Viserai list that I think is going to be absolutely phenomenal with some of the new cards that came out of Everfest. Now, up first, it's going to be Benji, the little ninja that could. But before we get into that, let's hear a word from the FAB Breakdown sponsor, BCW Supplies. Hey friends, Rick from BCW here, and in this product spotlight, we're going to be talking about the Prime X4 gaming box, or PX4 gaming box for short. This is my preferred way of storing my Blitz gauntlet, if you will. So let's go ahead and talk about this. This box actually has a nice latching lid here. This will actually keep the lid closed. When you open up the box, you have these 4 feet right here. These actually sit right above the cells where the cards will be in the deck box. Now, this is going to give everything a secure feeling. Nothing's going to shift around with the lid closed. You don't have to worry about it coming open. And then once inside, we do have a removable dice cup. We have 4 cells that you're able to store your decks in. And this is Benji, Kasai, Kano, and Viserai. We have these red removable dividers. Now this is very crucial depending on how you like to transport your equipment or your special hero cards. You can actually remove the red dividers in here. It actually has a little spot right here underneath where the dice cup would normally sit, and that's a place to store that extra divider. And why would you want to store it there? Well, maybe you have cards in magnetic card holders or in top loaders. You can actually fit them into the top of the box. Once the lid's closed, they're not going to go anywhere. You're able to keep everything in one deck box. I love this deck box for being able to take a gauntlet of decks to either teach people how to play the game or being able to test with people for upcoming events. So if you're interested, head on over to bcwsupplies.com. Look for the PX4 gaming box. Order yours today. All right, friends, remember when you're checking out at bcwsupplies.com that you use discount code FAB Breakdown at checkout. That's going to save you 10% off your retail order. Save yourself a little bit of money. Help support the content that I create for Flesh and Blood. Use discount code FAB Breakdown at bcwsupplies.com to save 10%. Now, let's go ahead and get into this deck tech on the little ninja that could. All right, here we are, top down with Benji, the Piercing Wind, also known as Benji, the little ninja that could. Benji has a intellect of 4 and a starting health pool of 17, so that's 3 less than the average young hero for Blitz. And he has a couple of phenomenal abilities, which the deck is really kind of built around. The first one is the most important one. Attack action cards you control with 2 or less attack cannot be blocked by cards from hand. This includes defense reactions. And then once per turn effect, when an attack action card you control hits, your next attack this turn gains +1. So that you do need to be aware of. That bottom part you need to be aware of as you're setting up for the OTK, because as soon as you hit, you may turn on blocking from hand. But I'm here to tell you, you're going to hear me say this, it's okay to play cards that your opponent can block from hand. Why? Applying pressure stops the crackback. We're not a defensive deck. If you're setting up the kill, you may want to play something bigger. If you've already done a bunch of damage, you need to push damage through. You may want to strip cards from the hand because you do start with less life. You do need the ability to come back at your opponent and maybe get them to spend cards out of their hand. When it comes to the weapons, we are using the Harmonized Kodachis as the weapon of choice. This is just an absolute phenomenal weapon for Benji. And again, a lot of the cards in this deck cost 0, so you're able to pitch them in an attack and give the Kodachis go again. Special note, his ability only works on attack action cards, so these can be blocked from hand. Again, sometimes you want to play stuff they can block from hand. When we are getting into the equipment, let's go ahead and talk about the headpieces. Now, I run 2 different headpieces for Benji. I run the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. Now, this is a new card out of Everfest. When an attack action card you control hits, you may destroy the Mask of Pouncing Lynx. If you do, search your deck for an attack action card with 2 or less damage, banish it, shuffle your deck, and you may play it this turn. It blocks for 2 and it has Blade Break. This card could simply say, when an attack action card you control hits, sacrifice Mask of the Pouncing Lynx and go get Spring Tidings, Benji's new specialization card from Everfest. We'll get into that card here in just a minute. The other card that I run when I'm not trying to OTK is Mask of Momentum. Now, this is going to be for control matchups that are going to be a little bit grindier. Believe it or not, people know about this deck, and there are some decks that just kind of hard counter the OTK. Decks that run a lot of armor have a defense reaction as their ability. I'm looking at you, Oldhim. So, Mask of Momentum is just something that's going to threaten them to where they have to block, because now you are able to attack, and then on the third attack, you are going to threaten to draw a card, which still extends Benji's turns with some of the cards in the deck. So we're going to break that down for you. These are the way I go. This also blocks for 2 with Blade Break. Again, these we're really not trying to block with unless we absolutely have to. When it comes to chess pieces, I'm running 3. The first one up is part of the OTK, that is Vest of the First Fist. When an attack action card you control hits, you may destroy Vest of the First Fist. If you do, gain 2 resources. Note, this is not a discount on an attack action card like the Heart and Cross Trap. You just straight up gain 2 resources when you pop this. And you're going to want those for attack reaction cards when you're trying to combo off. In the more grindy matchups, I'm going to split this out here real quick. This is my OTK package. For the grindier matchups, I'm going to run Findel's Spring Tunic. Now, a lot of people are running the Iron Hide pieces in that slot for being able to block. I look at this as an expensive Iron Rot piece. It does block for 1, but on those matchups where I'm going to have to spend multiple turns trying to just chip away, this is going to give me a free resource for an attack reaction in the deck that I can spend. And then if I need to block with it, I'm blocking 1. So that's why I've chosen to operate with that. The third and final piece, we're going to put this over here. This is a little bit of Kano love. This is the Null Rune Robes. I'm only playing that specifically in the Kano matchup. When it comes to the hands, I prefer to run Breaking Scales in either one. It's got Battle Worn, it blocks for 1. As an attack reaction, destroy Breaking Scales. Target attack action card with combo gains +1. Again, we're trying to push through damage on specific cards in order to combo off. I also have the Null Rune Gloves in here. Again, this is for Kano, but I can also play this over the Breaking Scales, specifically against Rune Blade characters that need arcane damage to hit. I'm looking at you, Viserai. This is a great card that I will play against Viserai because if they're running Meet and Greet and I can stop the arcane damage, I can stop them from applying a lot of pressure. Now, when it comes to feet, there's only one pair that I'm running, and that is the Breeze Rider Boots. This has Battle Worn and blocks for 1. When a ninja attack action card you control hits, you may destroy Breeze Rider Boots. If you do, attack action cards with combo gain go again this turn. This is part of the combo. This is part of this, but it's also a block 1 that's really good when you're having to play the grindier matchups. You can have an explosive turn if needed. The final piece of equipment that I am running is an Arcane Lantern. This is specifically just here for Kano. So I can get up to a Null Rune 3. Really, you want to be around a Null Rune 4, but I am also going to try and kill Kano as fast as possible and make him have it. So I do want to be able to block out with a blue, and that's why I'm only running 3 on the Null Rune. All right, so this is the equipment for Benji. Kind of explained a little bit of the different setups for more of a long game against controlling decks like Oldhim, maybe a dash control, maybe a warrior control, but a lot of the warriors are going to be Katsai, which we're going to talk about later on in this video series, and that one you might want to actually race. So we are just kind of giving you some guidelines for that, but this right here is your traditional package: the Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, the Vest of the First Fist, Breaking Scales, and Breeze Rider Boots. With the Harmonized Kodachi, this is what you're going to want to set up as your OTK package. So now let's go ahead and talk about some of the attack action cards in this deck. All right, so here we are with all of the attack action cards in the deck. There are 32 attack action cards in my list. And I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to work my way this way, talking about the cards. Now, there's going to be some cards in here that are flex spots. You can choose to run other things in your list if you will, and I'll talk about them as I get to them. And we're actually going to talk about them starting off with the 100 wins line. Now, I know I am playing red 100 wins, which start off not being under Benji's protection of 2 or less damage. But it is a card that has natural go again. It does cost 0. It does have a lot of damage. I'm okay with my opponents blocking with cards from their hand to prevent damage, because if I'm running 32 attack action cards, my defense is trying to get cards out of their hands on turns where I'm not trying to kill them. Even on turns that I'm trying to kill them, I can also allow them to block from hand to weaken their hand when I'm trying to set up bigger plays. And we'll talk about that as we get into some of the combo effects that actually will push it above Benji's ability as well. So I'm running 2 of blue, 2 of yellow, 2 of red, and the Winds of Eternity combo line. All All-Stars out of Everfest. The next All-Star that puts in a lot of work also came from Everfest, and it's this Ride the Tailwind combo line here. It's not a combo, actually. It has Go Again. But if it hits the next attack action card with 2 or less base attack, you play this combat chain gains Go Again. Now that is absolutely crucial, being able to give some of your cards Go Again when you're not under the effect of the Breeze Rider Boots. And it also allows you to set up combo cards that we don't actually run the first layer of, which is going to be the next combo line we're going to talk about, which is the Rushing River into Flood of Force or Break Tide. Now this is supposed to start with Torrent of Tempo, but the blue Torrent of Tempo costs 1, comes in for 3. Not ideal for Benji. The yellow costs 1, and again, they cost 1. None of my attacks have a cost to them, and that's how I like it. I don't want to ever pitch a card to have to pay to swing with an attack action card. It really is counterproductive to what this deck is doing. This deck is truly all zeros except for 2 cards, and we'll cover those when we get into the additional support cards. So in order to get Rushing River Go Again, I either have to do it off the back end of a Ride the Tailwind, or I've got to do it on a turn where I popped my boots. But the Rushing River is going to lead into Flood of Force. Now, Flood of Force says if Rushing River or Flood of Force was the last attack action played this combat chain, when you attack with Flood of Force, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a card with combo, put it into your hand, then Flood of Force gains +3 and Go Again. Now, all of the cards in this deck have combo, minus these 4 Ride the Tailwinds and these 2 Snatch, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Everything else has the keyword combo, which is very important. So most of the time you're going to be hitting on that reveal trigger. You're going to put this up to an attack of 4 with Go Again. Now that is above Benji's breakpoint. remember we said we were going to say this a bunch. So this can be blocked from hand on that reveal trigger in the defense declaration stage, which is why I don't mind running cards that are also trying to strip cards out of their hand. Also, we have the Break Tide. Now, Break Tide can be played after Rushing River or can be played after Flood of Force. If either of those two were the last attack action cards, then this gains +3 and Dominate, and when Break Tide hits, banish the top card of your deck until the end of your next turn. You may play that. It comes in for 2 for 0, but when you give it the +3, it becomes a 5 with Dominate. Typically, this is going to be something that you're going to want to hit as well. Notice these cards are drawing you extra cards. This deck loves to draw extra cards, and you're going to see that. You're going to see why I'm running Snatch. It's a 0 for 2, so it's under his protection. When it hits, you draw a card, but I can use Ride the Tailwind or some other cards in the deck in order to give this go again, or let it have go again off of a Quicken token, which we'll get to in just a little bit. So it's just drawing cards, extending. These 6 cards right here allow me to draw cards. There's more in the deck that allow me to draw cards. So next up we have the Soulbead Strike, Crane Dance, and Define Center combo. Again, these are just combo cards. They cost 0. The Soulbead Strike doesn't have go again unless it hits, which is kind of a gamble. But again, off Ride the Tailwind, Crane Dances don't have to be played after it. They just come in for 0 for 2 or 0 for 1. But now you're setting up Find Center. Now, Find Center is a doozy of a card, especially when you have a very long combat chain, because it says if Crane Dance was the last attack action card played this combat chain, Find Center cannot be defended by cards with a cost less than the number and the chain link you control, and it gains if this hits, create a Zen State token. Now, Zen State token is going to prevent 1 damage from every source. So if your opponent has a bunch of rune chants and they go to attack, all those rune chants pops, each one of those is an individual source. The Find Center token is going to prevent that. But it's a way to mitigate some damage. Again, when you're starting with 17 health, you need to find little ways you can to mitigate health. So that is the core of 30 cards in the deck that I'm really trying to attack with. Hopefully you understand what I'm talking about when I say Ride the Tailwind is a very important card to give. Cards like Rushing River or Crane Dance go again. Also give Snatch go again. These are nice starting points for the other combo lines in here. The only card I really didn't cover part of this combo here was the Winds of Eternity. If 100 Winds was the last attack action combat chain, Winds of Eternity gains +2. And when this hits, shuffle all cards named 100 Winds you own on the combat chain into your deck. So again, if you've comboed off with a bunch of these cards and with some of the card draw in this deck, if you have a bunch of these on the chain, you hit with this, you're just getting those cards back. So it's a nice way to kind of have more gas in the tank. But the real all-star of the deck, we've talked about these 30 cards, but it's these 2 cards right here that are the all-stars, and that is Spring Tidings, Benji's new specialization. When Spring Tidings hits, draw a card for each other attack action card with 2 or less base attack you control on the combat chain. It has go again. It's a 0 for 2. It falls under his protection, which means really they're going to have to block it with equipment. Now, they're going to want to block this card. A lot of people think that this is the card that must be blocked, and they're not wrong. So they're going to save the equipment. You may get them to overblock with it. One of the strategies is to try to wait to go off until you have both of these cards, or you have one of these cards and you have the Mask of the Lynx that you can sacrifice to go get the other card. There are some attack reactions we're going to get into, but this is what really kind of just is the glue to the deck. This is what's going to allow us to draw an insane amount of cards. If you have 3 attack action cards on the chain, you play this, you can see you have an attack reaction in Arsenal. You're able to hit that attack reaction in Arsenal, pump this up enough to deal 1 point of damage. Then you get to draw 3 cards. Now that's going to extend your turn, and again, you're still under Benji's effect, in theory, that you're able to continue attacking. But we have card draw on Snatch. We have card banish or essential card draw off Flood of Force and Break Tide. So there's 6 more ways of drawing cards just in the attack actions. Let's go ahead and look at the attack reaction cards, or the support cards in this deck, as I like to refer to them as, and see what other ways we have of drawing cards. All right, so when it comes to attack reactions, the other 8 cards in the deck will make our 40 deck are all attack reaction cards because it's important that your Spring Tidings actually hits. We have Razor Reflex, target sword or dagger gains +3. This costs 1. This is the only card in the deck that actually has a resource cost, which is why the vest is very important. Also why I like the Spring Tunic when I'm trying to just push through extra damage against Oldham. It's because I want to be able to pay for Razor Reflex without having to pitch a card. The reason why is a Kodachi coming in for a 1, being able to give it +3 as a surprise got you just means when life totals are low, they have to respect the Razor Reflex. But more importantly, this second part of it is what we're really playing it for. At the cost of 1, you get a target attack action card with a cost of 1 or less. That's the entire 32 cards in our deck. Gain +3, and if it hits, the attack action gains go again. So this is a way we can give some of those combo cards go again if we're not under our boots. But more importantly, you really want to save these just to get Spring Tidings up to a 5. A lot of times you may get a block of 4 out of equipment, and this is going to help you pump it up. Lunging Press is a blue pitch, 0 cost, +1 to target attack action card. Very important. Again, you can put it on Spring Tidings. You can pitch it to be able to swing with the Kodachis. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this, but it is an attack action card. It does pitch for 3, and it gives any attack action card +1. So if you're trying to get an on-hit effect or just lethal your opponent, that's something you can do. Ancestral Empowerment is another 0 cost attack action card. Target ninja attack action card gains +1, and you get to draw the card immediately. So this, when you play this, it just replaces itself immediately. Again, more card draw in Benji. We've got 6 of the attack action cards, not including Spring Tidings, it's going to draw cards. And then Ancestral Empowerment is also going to draw cards when you play it. So you're really drawing a bunch of extra cards. One of the all-stars of the deck is even bigger than that. Play even bigger than that only if you have dealt damage this turn, which is going to be relatively easy to do with the deck. Op 3, reveal the top card of your deck. If it has power greater than the amount of damage that you've dealt this turn, create a Quicken token and draw a card. Now, on this, you have a lot of attacks that attack for 1. If you have this in your play, if you have this in your hand, play one of your attack action cards that attack for 1. It's not typically going to be blocked by equipment, and just your opponent knowing that you play this means that they would have to start blocking everything. They're not going to do that. They want to save that equipment for Spring Tidings. So this is going to allow you to attack for 1 and then play another attack action card that has go again. Play this as an instant. It doesn't break the combat chain because it's an instant. And now before that damage is dealt on that same card, you really just need to find something that has damage 2, which is very easy to do in the deck. A lot of your attack action cards actually have 2 out of looking for 3. Now you get to create a Quicken token. That Quicken token is going to help give a card go again that doesn't actually already have go again. And you're able to draw a card. So absolute phenomenal card. It allows you to look through 3 cards, pick which card you want to draw. Plus, if you have things that are going to allow you to draw a card like a Snatch, like a Flood of Force, like Break Tide, like Ancestral Empowerment, you're able to draw that card. You're able to sculpt what you're drawing by putting things from the top of your deck onto the bottom or putting it in the order that is going to allow you to maximize how many cards you get. Absolutely love this card. The Quicken token, very essential. Again, a Snatch played after you have a Quicken token is going to have go again. Again, there's multiple ways to give those cards that don't have go again, and a little bit of redundancy built in. So this is my little ninja that could. This is Benji, the Piercing Winds, the OTK build, but there is some grind aspects to my build because I know I'm going to have to grind through. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, leave them in the comment section below or interact with me on Twitter. Until next time, this has been Rick with the FAB Breakdown, reminding you to get out, play some games, have fun, but more importantly, be kind.